Hello, let us explore this qualitative study, Teacher Wellness, How Are We Adapting to Distance Learning? My name is Shanika Sims. Research questions. This research on teacher wellness seeks to answer the following questions. What are the requirements of distance learning in facilitating primary school students? What are the differences with the approaches of novice teachers and veteran teachers towards distance learning? How could the Ministry of Education and the school leaders help to effect a smooth transition from face-to-face to distance learning for classroom teachers? And how are teachers' relationships and their interactions with students and other colleagues? The problem statement. The problem statement being addressed in this study is teacher wellness and the adaptation to distance learning. On March 10, 2020, the first case of a pandemic, COVID-19, was confirmed in Jamaica and school was closed 3 days later. With the increase of persons contracting the virus, the classrooms remained closed until October 5th, 2020, and this marked the beginning of distance learning in Jamaica. At the end of March 2020, Yale Center for Emotional Support and Collaborative for Social, Emotional, and Academic Learning, CASEL, launched a survey to unpack the emotional lives of teachers during the COVID-19 crisis, where teachers were now having to prepare to teach online. In response to how they feel daily in this new normal, majority of the responses was anxiety. The purpose statement. The purpose of this case study is to explore teacher wellness as they adapt to the expectations and requirements of distance learning in the engagement of students in schools in Region 6. The term wellness is a contemporary term that encompasses all aspects of health and well-being, Ardell 1988. So, in this study, we will identify teacher wellness as the health and well-being of the teacher in regards to adapting to distance learning. Armstrong 1995 also defines teacher wellness as the energy that empowers each woman to enact her vision of teaching. The research design. This research will explore different perspectives of teachers and their adaptation to distance learning, and so a qualitative methodology was selected. As described by Questwell 2014, this is an approach for exploring and understanding the meaning individuals or groups ascribe to a social or human problem. The case study method will be used because the focus of the research is to describe and explain a phenomena in one's own perspective. In order to explore and collect data on teacher wellness and how they are adapting to distance learning, one must rely on their expectation and personal view based on their experiences and feelings. Sampling. The technique used to select the sample was purposeful sampling. Creswell 2009 expressed that this technique requires the researcher to select a setting that will help them to make sense of the problem. In selecting the participants, maximum variation was used. Maximum variation has to do with ensuring a wide variety of participants. A total of 4 teachers were selected to be a part of this study. These teachers were chosen based on the status of the school's readiness for distance learning. I selected schools that are small, less than 150 students, and also schools that are large, over 500 students. as small schools are mainly those located in the rural areas, and the large schools are usually situated in central areas. The participants were also selected based on the years of teaching experience, as it was important to note that novice teachers were adapting in relation to how veteran teachers were adapting. Data collection. The data collection techniques that were used are interviews and document analysis. 4 semi-structured interviews were conducted with 2 veteran teachers and 2 novice teachers, with a duration of approximately 30 minutes with each teacher. Participants were allowed to express themselves in whatever verbal form they preferred. Also, for the document analysis, data was collected from WhatsApp statuses, Facebook posts, and blogs. Data analysis. The qualitative data that was collected from interviews was first transcribed. The transcription was read multiple times for familiarity, and then the process of assigning categories and codes was conducted. This was so the data could be seen using themes to allow one to compare and contrast the responses from the participants. The data was managed using QDA Miner software, where coding and analysis was done, and then interpretation of the findings. The categories are teacher challenges, student challenges, support from Ministry of Education and the school leaders, teachers' teaching experience, and recommendations were assigned with several codes. Trustworthiness. This entails transferability, confirmability, dependability, and credibility. For transferability, thick descriptions were given so that a generalization of the study findings can be made and be applied to other situations and contexts. This was ensured by collecting data from participants in different types of schools. For confirmability, steps were taken to allow persons to replicate the results to show that these results are a product of independent research methods and not of conscious or unconscious bias. The process will be outlined and interview transcripts along with the documents that were used will be made available. For dependability, an audit trail was done. If the study was conducted using the same method in the same context and with the same participants, similar findings will be obtained. This is ensured by reporting on the process of the study in detail so that another researcher, if decided to carry out this study, will yield similar results and allow the reader to assess the extent to which proper research practices have been followed. And for credibility, member checks were done so that the interviewees could confirm if the information recorded was what was intended. Also, there has been prolonged engagements with the interviewees. For the ethics, permission was sought from the principals. Teachers were given the opportunity to volunteer, and the study was explained in detail. So as to avoid undue influence and coercion, the participants were informed that participation was voluntary and that there were no consequences if they do not participate. A letter was written to the teachers and also to their principals seeking permission to conduct a portion of my study at their institution. This letter introduced the researcher, described the nature of the research, and requested access and entry. The letters were sent on WhatsApp to both the teachers and the principals, and a consultation followed via phone call and Zoom meetings as to discuss the details of the study. Some of the preliminary findings are illustrated in this word cloud. Emerging from the word cloud, the teacher's greatest challenge is device woes. She consistently spoke of the limited device in her household and also of the issues present with the existing devices. Ms. Phillips, the interviewee, had also expressed that being a teacher and a mother at the same time is also a challenge that she faces as she has little time to guide her children's learning. She expressed how frustrating it is when her daughter comes to her and she does not respond to her immediately. And when she finally tries to help, she says, "Never mind, you weren't listening." Technology being the least prominent in her challenges, as she teaches online, is present because she says she is not tech savvy and is now trying to learn to navigate the online platform. In reflecting, I must think about the process and how it made me feel. As this study was decided upon and explored, there were adjustments that had to be made. The research topic and questions were modified a few times to align with what I seek to find out about the teacher's adaptation to distance learning. I did some readings to become aware of what other researchers have found. I also did some interviews with teachers in different types of schools because I wanted to get an understanding despite different school cultures and contexts. The data management and analysis was a tedious task for me, and this caused me to do a lot of reflection because I needed to understand the data and what it means. I definitely had some preconceived notions of the sort of responses such a topic will reveal, but further in the research, I have gathered that some novice teachers see things differently from some novice teachers, and that their experiences are also influenced by school context. I am now a lot more inveigled to explore more of this phenomenon, and even from different sources, which I have begun to collect in screenshots from Facebook, WhatsApp, and some bloggers. These are the references used. Thank you for listening to my presentation.